So are we actually going to do this? Yeah, we are. Let's go. Happy summer, everyone. I am excited for this episode. But before we get into that, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, you can hear all the tea of how our summer started here in our household, here in the Jackson 8 household. Oh my gosh, it was a wild first start to the summer. Let's just say that. And I jokingly laugh a little bit at myself because I've created this summer profit and fun blueprint, which if you haven't seen, you need to go download that secret podcast in the action pack. We'll link the show notes. We'll link in the show notes the podcast at LaniJackson.com/summer blueprint. But what it cracks me up is that even when sometimes we put plans into place, our kids will totally disrupt. So if you haven't heard about how my children soaked our entire house, maybe you should go listen to last week's episode. But if your summer is gotten off to a rocky or interesting start, you're not alone. And I hope that you take the time to go and listen to that Summer Profit and Fun podcast, because truly the whole point is that you can have a plan in place so that you can mitigate a little bit of the chaos and still have fun, make memories, and enjoy your summer, but also have business growth and profit. So last week was a really crazy week for us as the first week of summer in the household, but it also was very profitable for my business. So I love that I can have both. I'm also excited that Cait is on the call today with us to have a little bit of behind the scenes of our own conversations. So, Cait, welcome. Glad you're here.
Yes, I'm glad to be here. I always love coming on the show as a guest. So,
And if you don't know who Cait is, you haven't heard any episodes with her in the past, you're just jumping in now. Cait is our lead coach in Empowered for More, which is our program for women entrepreneurs who are scaling to a bigger business with higher profits in time, energy, income, and fulfillment. And she's amazing and brilliant. And she and I are constantly challenging each other and brainstorming ways to make the program even better. And she's really great at problem solving. And we wanted to do this episode because I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, we were on a call talking through some things and getting ready to take action. And I stopped us mid-sentence. We'd been like 45 minutes in. I think it was quite a bit of time. And stopped mid-sentence. I was like, oh my gosh, we are solving a problem, but we really need to create the problem. And Cait, let's talk about that.
yeah, we were trying to solve a problem we didn't have yet. And when Lonnie was like, we need to create this problem, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually love that so much because look at us not taking action and overthinking, which is what we constantly are coaching our clients on. And here we are doing the same thing. And it's just because we have human brains who do human things. But if we want to hack that, we have to be making the choices, not letting our brain just make choices for us. And I felt really, really called out when
Oh,
when Lonnie was like, "Let's do an episode on this." I was like, "I actually do this. I actually do this all the time." So so let's talk about what to do, like, what this looks like and what we should do instead, Lonnie.
yes. So as this episode is describing, is we need to actually create problems in our business and not just solve for the future problems. And I want to give a kind of an example of what we were doing, and then also some other examples of different industries and how this can be a trap that we fall into. And you use up all these superpower, brilliant juices in your brain and time to solve these amazing problems that do not exist. And this is a leaky energy spot for a lot of business owners who are in growth mode, because we do know where we want to go. We want to get to this higher level. We want to get more clients. We want to make more sales. We want to have more people on the roster, more products moving, whatever your business model is. You want more. You want growth. That's awesome. How about you might have this happen to you? So Cait and I were discussing some of our strategies for growth and scaling, and we're using one of the marketing strategies that another one of our clients is using, which is remixes and other things, which has caused her to go viral and build this huge giant wait list. So we went down this big long rabbit hole of how we were going to handle a giant wait list and all the things and all these people coming in and who's going to make the sales calls and how are we going to do this and the funnels that we need and the nurture sequences and the mini chats. And I mean, just like the list of was long. Like we had it really figured out. Wouldn't you say?
And you guys, wait, we were also so stressed out. We were like, "Oh my gosh, how are we gonna do all these sales calls?"
Yes. And also serve them and onboarding and okay, what's the system that's going to break? And we were trying to predict some of these things like, oh man, if we did all these things. And to trust me, we're in constant growth mode all the time and we have lots of things in place. But if we were to volumize it and like quadruple what we're doing, that's not sustainable. So we were like, all right, well, here's how we're going to solve all this problem. However, that 45 minutes that we were talking to solve this future problem that did not yet exist was not actually productive to profit in our business. Because what we really needed to do was create the strategy and put into action what we needed to do to actually create the problem. Because here we are 3 weeks later, we do not have this problem yet. Because we're working on implementing the actions to create the problem. And that sometimes takes time and figuring it out. And it's a trap that we fall into. So, Cait, I would love for you to share maybe some other examples of either yourself or other clients that you've worked with that have had a similar to problem to this. Maybe they're not in the service industry. Is there another industry that maybe you can talk about, like the digital product side?
Yes, absolutely. In case you guys don't know, if you're like a new listener, so Inside Empowered for More, Lonnie and I really can help you with any kind of business because we've both done so many different kinds and helped so many different industries. But my expertise really is with digital growth, digital funnels, online courses, one to many offers. That's what I do. And so, what I see with people when they're creating their first one to many offer, it's usually a course. That's the simplest thing, right? Is they want to create the full course. They want to spend months tweaking and perfecting and putting every single thing their ideal client might need inside of their course. And what ends up happening is one, it takes forever. Like many people, it takes so long that they just stay in project mode until they drop the project and never launch it, which back in the day, my first course, I had to be honest, I spent about a year creating. Actually, I created it all in one weekend. I recorded all in one weekend. I took 6 solid months to edit my videos, and then this was back before AI, so or any kind of app that would make captions for you. So I, like, typed out the captions, and I created workbooks for everything. It took me forever. It took me a full year. I think I was 1 month short of a year when I launched it, and by the time I launched it, I was so exhausted. I kind of hated the course, first of all. I hated everything because I was so tired. I sold one of them, and then I was like, "This isn't worth all the work I put in," and I quit. In fact, I quit my online business, like, 3 times before I realized that, like, most of the work is the marketing. Like, learning to sell well is, like, 60% of online business, maybe 70%. So,
Yeah.
anyway, this is what I see people do, is they spend so much time trying to solve the problem of, "What is every single thing my clients need? I have to have it in here before I sell anything," that they just fizzle out completely.
Yep. Exactly. That's just I see this happen so often, and I've been there. I'm 100% raising my hand. Like, this is not uncommon, and even those of us who've been in business for a long time, we still get into this trap of, like, "Oh, everything has to be perfect, and I have to have it all mapped out, and I'm gonna take my time so that when somebody comes in, they can experience this amazing thing." But the truth is you don't have to have it all perfect bells and whistles because what they're truly buying is the transformation, not a pretty picture. Unless you're an artist, then we have to talk about different. But you're not needing all those things. And one of the things I love about you, Cait, is you did this many times, and I watched you do this live and in person before you became a coach in our program and sold your other company is you would just announce, "I'm gonna host this course, I'm doing pre-sales." And one of your courses was actually I'm pre-selling a course that's going to show you how to pre-sell a course and build it.
Yep, the pre-sale course, or the
The
pre-sale
pre-sale
pre-sell
pre
course. So meta, yep, and, if you are making a course, I highly recommend pre-selling because it gives you a chance to test the idea. It pays you to create, which this is something that a lot of people struggle with when they do start doing a one-to-many offers. They're like, "Oh, it feels like I'm doing so much work right now and seeing so little payoff." But the thing is, later you do so little work and you keep seeing money from it. Like that's the difference with a one-to-many offer. By the time I sold my last company, I was working like, I would tell people I was working 10 hours a week, but I mostly was not doing that. Like, I was like, there were weeks where I did nothing. There were weeks where I worked like 5 hours because I did everything in advance and built systems. Anyway, all that to say, highly recommend pre-selling. My most successful pre-sale I did in 1 week. I had the idea actually, Lonnie helped me pick the name of it. So I had the idea. I was like, "I wanna pre-sell something, and I think it's gonna be a course on creating, like, a PLR company." And Lonnie was like, "You should call it Create a Club because yours is a club." And so that's what it was. It was the Create a Club course. I pre-sold $5,000 worth of courses. Like, so I made $5,000 in that 1 week. It was right after Christmas. I was, like, rolling in it. I felt like it was extra money right after Christmas. But anyway, and then I just dripped the course out over the next 3 months. It was one of the easiest launches I ever had, and so I know that's not the topic right now, but I just wanna, like, assure you if you're creating a course, like, 1, pre-sell it, 2, you make more money later than you will right now.
Exactly, and what you were able to do was solve problems in real time and make what you needed as it came up. Because a lot of times we are, and we should have a plan. Like, I'm not saying don't have a plan and don't map out what you're going to do. But if you get everything down to the minute detail and you don't have anybody in as a user experience, you may be building something that is unusable or unsustainable. And so we don't want you to get into like this, I'm going to solve all the problems so it's perfect and ready to go. So then I'm going to go create the problem. We want you to create the problem first. And I see this happen a lot with people who are service providers is we get so into, well, I have to map out my offers and exactly what I'm going to do and like down to the nitty gritties, whether it may be like a virtual assistant who's like, this is exactly what every offer is going to be. And they have their complete clear packages all mapped out. Then they put them all on the website with the pricing and all of these things. But then they get on a phone call with somebody, a discovery call, and they don't need any of what is specifically put into that package. It's nuanced. And so all that time that they spent putting these beautiful packages on their website and pricing them and knowing them and understanding, they're not even relevant to the lead that just signed up to work with them. So then they're scrambling because they haven't priced themselves for really what the client needs. They've priced out what they think the client needs, and they haven't experienced that user experience. And then there's also the coaches and people who are mentors, life coaches, business coaches, all of those. And this is one of the mistakes I made. My first program, I was like, it's going to be the best program in the world. And here's all the things that we're going to do. And I built it all out. It took me all this time. Then by the time I got to launch mode, I was exhausted by all the work that I had put in. So my launch was really low energy, sold nothing. Then tried to launch it again, sold a few spots, and then I realized I hated the format of the program. It wasn't serving my people the way they needed to be served. So all that time that I spent to like perfectly put out all these things, it actually never that problem never came to life because I didn't like it was a problem I had in theory that I solved for, but it wasn't an actual real problem that came into fruition.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really common. I used to have this client when I first started coaching. She would rework her offers and her website twice a month, and it's like that's what she spent most of her time doing instead of getting clients.
Yep, it's such a trap. It's an easy trap because we wanna be and I get where it's coming from. Like, I do wanna seem to be very I want to present myself to the world to showcase, like, I'm very got my stuff together, that I know what I'm doing, that it looks like it's established. That's another thing, and when especially when you're in growth mode, you don't wanna well, I'm a brand new baby business. I want it to seem like I am very established. So I want all these assets and things in place to make me seem like I'm bigger than I am. And truly, like, that's a lot of the driving force behind some of these problem solvings, because we want to be bigger. We want to have like this established authority and leadership, which is all good things, but really what you need is to create the problem. So, our challenge to you today for this episode is, what problem are you trying to solve that doesn't exist? And how do you actually create the problem so that problem comes to life and then you solve it? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Am I spending a lot of time solving problems that don't exist or don't need to be solved yet because they're not really actual immediate problems? And what I want you to shift to is, how can you solve, like, create the problem? Let's create that problem and trust yourself, because you're really brilliant. You're going to make small micro solutions along the way. And if I could like claim anything with Empowered for More, which is like my dream child that came from all these mistakes that I made from my first programs, and how, all the learning that I've done over the last, let's see, since 2018 coaching, is that I've seen, oh, it doesn't need to be this giant overhaul. I can make small pivots, adjustments, and solutions along the growth path that is more sustainable and more impactful for both myself and my clients. And that's what we stopped ourselves, because we're like, okay, no, we don't need to solve this huge problem that doesn't exist. What do we need to do right now in like a small pivot to start that flow and flood of clients that we do want to come in? And
Awesome.
so, Kate, yeah, let's create that problem. So, Kate, would you add anything else to this? And I know we might need to do a second episode here of how to create problems, like get into the nitty gritties of how to map out the strategy for creating problems. But is there anything else just for identifying, like self awareness? I feel like this episode is just to bring to light this thought and to help you identify, like, am I solving a problem that doesn't exist, or do I need to create the problem? Is there anything else that you would add in for helping someone become self aware of that?
I think we nailed the self-awareness piece, and maybe just like a quick like, "Okay, this happens, now what do I do?" Like, what do I do right this second when this happens?
Okay, what did first?
So the first thing I always do, and I'm probably already like brain dumping stuff if I'm like making this big plan, is I look at the plan and I'm like, "Okay, how much of this, like if I only had 2 hours to work on causing this problem this week, like what are the actions I would take to make this problem happen?" Because
Mhm.
another thing you're gonna do if you're looking at this big plan of like this problem you've created and you're like, "No, wait, I need to cause the problem first. I need to like take this action." You're probably gonna make too big of a plan too. Like you need to stop planning and take some action, which funny, we're on the Actually podcast all about taking action.
Actually doing it. And a lot of times we know what to do to start, and if you don't, that's where we come in. We have a free business alignment call that we always have open to anyone who's like, I either want to create this problem or I want to create this vision. We talk about both sides of the coin, because sometimes the problem you want to create is actually the vision that you want to have. And so we really need you to stop and say, okay, what do I need to take the action on? What do I want? What's the first step to get there? And how do I build and stack the problem? Because we don't want to be inundated. I don't want to go viral. Honestly, I don't want to go so viral. I can't even weed through the potential, because that would be really overwhelming to my nervous system. What is, and like, I like asking that question sometimes, is what is sustainable for my time and my nervous system energy to start taking action to create the problem? Because that will get you to the point where you want to go with all those things happening for your business. Would you agree? Anything else that you had added there?
No, I think you nailed it. Like I think that the biggest thing to do is to start moving. That's almost all the time. Like the best thing we can do is just take some action anytime we're overthinking anything.
Yeah. Yeah. In this case, don't take the act, like, your action of problem solving for something that doesn't exist is not actually moving you forward.
No, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, right. Action. You could redo your website. That's an action, but it's probably not what's gonna make you money and what's gonna get you closer to this problem that you actually want.
Exactly. And I say that all the time. Like we don't like the nobody has hired me because they went to my website and were like, "Oh my God, now I know." They've hired me because they've had connections and a relationship and we've created community together. So that's the difference. That's the difference. I'm really excited to hear more about what you, if you as a listener have been solving for a problem and you need to create a problem. I'm going to give you a challenge. I want you to DM myself or Cait on Facebook or Instagram and tell us what problem you want to create. And we're going to cheer you on as you cause problems for your business. How about that? And for the wrap up. And we'll see you next week on another episode. And we're going to come back to this. I am 100% sure because it's something top of mind for myself and the clients we're working with. And we want to share with you how we help them create problems. So tune in next week. And thanks again, Cait, for joining me and the conversation. Thanks for actually joining us today. I hope it inspired you to actually take the action to step into the empowered CEO that you are and getting more of the results that you want. Before you go, I have a quick favor. Leave us a review and take a screenshot of this episode and share it with your friends and on your favorite social media channels. Don't forget to tag us, actually.thepodcast and Lani J. Jackson. And we'll see you next week on another episode.